Tonight on the Bloody Alphabet 3, we're doing I for Ishikawa. And just as a reminder before we really get into it, since things are so uncertain and so bad here on the Clock app, you can find me with this username pretty much anywhere else. Okay, Miyuki Ishikawa was born on February 5th, 1897 and lived until May 30th, 1987. She was a Japanese midwife, real estate agent, and serial killer. During the U.S. occupation of Japan, she and several accomplices are believed to have murdered dozens of infants in a crime spree which became known as the Kotobuki-san-in incident. Miyuki Ishikawa was born Miyuki Omaru or Komaru, we aren't 100% sure, and was born in the village of Honjo in the Miyazaki Prefecture. In 1914, she moved to Tokyo, where she graduated from the Tokyo Imperial University as a midwife on September 30th, 1919. That same year, she married Takeshi Ishikawa, who was 3 years older than her, originally from the Ibaraki Prefecture. Takeshi was a former Kenpeitai sergeant and police officer, and he helped his wife's midwifery work without having a regular job himself. Because Miyuki had had a hysterectomy, the marriage produced no biological children. Even so, the couple raised a boy from Takeshi's previous marriage and adopted 3 other children, 2 boys and 1 girl. Miyuki was a very experienced midwife and managed a maternity home named Kotobuki-Sanin, holding some important positions of multiple midwives' associations. In April of 1947, she ran in the election of Shinjuku Ward's assembly members but was unsuccessful. In the late 1940s, during the immediate post-war period, many babies were kept at Kotobuki-Sanin. Many of these babies were born out of wedlock and their real mothers were too impoverished to properly raise their children. Due to a co-occurring decrease in foster parents, Ishikawa chose to neglect numerous infants, many of whom died as a direct result of this neglect. Almost all of the other midwives employed by her were disgusted by this practice and thus resigned from their positions. Just to point out, this kind of echoes a case that's in the news right now, and I would just like to say that if you hurt children, especially infants, you deserve all of the pain that you inflict upon them and then some, and I hope that you first rot in prison in this life and then rot in hell in the next. At the time of the murders, Ishikawa also attempted to garner payment for them. She and Takeshi solicited large sums of money from the parents, claiming that it would be less than the expense of raising their unwanted children. Shido Nakayama, who was a doctor, was also complicit in this scheme and aided the couple by falsifying death certificates, probably for some sum of money. 2 police officers from Waseda Police Station accidentally found the remains of 5 of Ishikawa's victims on January 12th of 1948. Autopsies performed on these bodies proved that they had not died of natural causes, and Ishikawa and her husband were arrested on January 15th. At that time, there were 7 surviving infants at Kotobuki-Sanin, but 2 died soon afterwards. Public Health and Welfare Section PHW at GHQ/SCAP and Tokyo Kanagawa Military Government District, also known as TKMGD, also dispatched officers to the site, basically meaning the government got very involved. Upon further investigation, the police found the ashes of over 40 infants in the house of a mortician and those of 30 more in a temple. The sheer number of dead bodies recovered and the length of time over which the murders took place made it difficult for the authorities to determine the exact number of victims. In court, prosecutors asserted that the couple had murdered at least 27 infants among 84 deaths between April of 1946 and January of 1948. On October 11th of 1948, the Tokyo District Court found the couple guilty of 5 murders, including the 2 infants that were found alive but passed quickly afterwards by omission, and sentenced Ishikawa and her husband to 8 and 4 years of imprisonment, respectively. Only 8 and 4 years for killing over 100 babies. Both the couple and the prosecutors appealed the sentences by the October 16th of that year. On April 28th of 1952, the Tokyo High Court sentenced Ishikawa to 4 years in prison and Takeshi to 2 years, granting pardons by effectuation of the Treaty of San Francisco. The Supreme Court of Japan then rejected a second appeal on September 15th of 1953. So Ishikawa walked free after only a few years, and in 1969 was interviewed by the Shukan Shincho magazine, in which she claimed innocence in the murders. Following the end of her sentence, she began to work selling soap, cream, and fish, and at the time of the interview, her husband was already dead and Ishikawa was operating a real estate office in Tokyo. She also boasted about having built a big tomb for herself and her husband 2 years before. Her former lawyer said that she had earned about 100 million yen since she got out of prison. She lived to the ripe age of 90 after killing over 100 babies. But fortunately, she's dead now and rotting in hell.